Homemade breadcrumbs are going to taste better. You'll save money.
Don't leave crumbs.
Let's make breadcrumbs.
Okay, so let me leave you with one story because I skipped it, and let's say I saved it for last. So it puts everything into perspective for the listeners, because you really do have to be a true fanatic to kind of make this accomplish, or even want to tackle the top 100 in the world. And when you start saying you want to tackle it is one thing, and when you start working on it and you see how much effort it is into it, it's another. But it's a funny story, and it'll paint a little bit of a picture into what I'm like, I suppose. Back around roughly around 2010, I had an opportunity to play Cypress Point, and I'm going to tell you about that opportunity. And it's a bit of a story, but it's kind of a funny one. So, at that stage, I had been divorced from my first wife for several years, and I was engaged again, and the young lady I was engaged to was a phenomenal golfer, like one of the best women golfers I've ever played with. So she was from Mexico, and two-time national champion, and both times she beat Lorena Ochoa for the national title.
Wow.
So, and not just that, I mean, I think every guy out there can relate to seeing this really beautiful girl, right? And you think, wow, now imagine seeing this really beautiful girl who has a freaking amazing golf swing. I mean, like 10 times better than your swing, right? And then, the butterflies go from pitter patter to just like full on, oh my God, that's incredible, basically, So anyway, this was that girl. And I had helped her to get a new job, and through her job, her training, it was actually a really good job with this medical instruments company, and her training was going to be in the U.S. in California, and I'd never played golf in California at that stage, and so I was like, that is so cool, because I have friends there. I've been meaning to do this golf trip, this epic golf trip to California, and we'll do it while you're at the training. And it just so happened that she was having her 30th birthday on the weekend in between the training, right? So she was there for 2 weeks. That middle weekend was her 30th birthday. So I said, oh, that's perfect. I'll fly in for your 30th birthday. We'll have a great time in LA, and then I'll fly back out so you can focus on your work and your training and stuff, and I'll finish my golf trip. And then she was like, no, that's not a good idea. I'd rather go away when you come back. And I was like, yeah, listen, we can do that too, but this is really cool, and it's a good excuse for me to play this golf. And at this stage, I'm totally full on into wanting to play courses and stuff like that, right?
Really want to play.
So I really want to play. So I go off on my own, and I start, I'm trying to organize this trip, and all these courses start falling together. So, I mean, I managed to get an invite to Meadow Club and San Francisco Golf Club and Cal Club and Monterey Peninsula Country Club. And so everything's kind of like, all the big ones are falling into this schedule. I get Riviera, I get LACC. And then finally, I get the call of all calls. So, and I'm called and I'm offered to go to Cypress. I mean, this is like, I've literally been dreaming about it, because it's the one that I've seen some pictures of, even though I try not to do too much study, but it's always been like number one on the list.
It's pretty much only past presidents remembers, right? That maybe a handful of other people. It's crazy. It's
crazy. Yeah. So, and as soon as that happened, I mean, I'm like literally jumping for joy, like as you would, like, God, how do I calm myself down? Okay, I got to invite to Cypress. So, I go running in there to say like, okay, listen, you'll never believe what happened. I just got this invite to go to Cyprus or whatever, and she said, "Oh, are you still talking about this California trip? I thought we already talked about that. I said that I want to focus on my job. I didn't want you to come to this, all this stuff, basically." And you can imagine that your state of mind when you got that, because my state of mind is already saying yes, absolutely. And so and she said, so she got really upset basically about this, that I was coming back with this golf thing. I said, listen, I've just received an invite to Cypress Point. And I said, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. There's no way I just can't pass that up. And so she starts getting upset, and she says, well, you're going to have to choose. And she said,
no.
And she says, you're going to have to choose. You choose. If it's that important to you, you choose Cypress Point or me. And you know what I said?
I've got a feeling.
Pack your bags.
No, you didn't.
That is the most brutal story.
That's dedication.
That is the most brutal story we've ever had on the podcast, and that is a stellar.
And I'll tell you what. In retrospect, look, if somebody who's trying to control your life, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen eventually anyway. So that just saved me a lot of anguish and everything. And I'll tell you what, Cypress was the best fucking day I've ever had in my life.
Homemade breadcrumbs are going to taste better. You'll save money.
Don't leave crumbs.
Let's make breadcrumbs.